Good morning, fellow members of the Business Law section of the Florida Bar. We are here once again in our virtual series of Better Know a Judge. We have this morning with us Judge Jason Burgess. Burgess, Jason, or Burgess? We're gonna
Burgess technically, but
Burgess. Thank you so much, Your Honor. So Jason Burgess joined the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Middle District of Florida, Jacksonville Division on March 2022. Prior to his appointment, he was a managing partner of the law offices of Jason Burgess, LLC. He concentrated in Chapter 11 bankruptcies and bankruptcy complex litigation. He was also an adjunct professor of Florida State College from 2015 to 2019. And he was also a mediator. So a jack of all trades over here. In addition, he has a master's in business transactions from the University of Alabama, a JD from Florida Coastal School of Law, and he's an undergraduate of the University of Alabama. So that makes him a Crimson fan, correct, Your Honor?
Roll Tide.
Very good. Did you go to the spring meet?
No, we don't make it up to the spring game very often. Our two boys keep us pretty busy.
Okay, well, yes, that happens when you have kids always, unless you want to bring them with you and make a weekend out of that. So Judge, how does it feel to be a new judge?
It's amazing. I mean, people always told me it was the best job in the world, and I'm a bankruptcy nerd, so it's kind of the pinnacle of bankruptcy nerdism. And the Middle District of Florida, even before I officially took the bench, after I was selected, they were so nice and accommodating to me. They just make you part of the family, and it truly is kind of a family that we have here in the Middle District.
Very true indeed. All I can say as a previous opposing counsel and colleague, that also with your generosity, your constant generosity, your constant professionalism, together with the earned badges, I know that you have a super lawyer stamp and you have an Orlando Elite stamp, all together has brought you where you are today.
Well, thank you. I always found it the best thing was to share with each other. We were all friendly competitors. Creditors are not enemies of debtors, and debtors are not enemies of creditors. We all work together.
Absolutely. That's one of the beautiful things about our court, right? As opposed to we may be adversarial, but at the end of the day, we are all trying to help each other create a potential successful finance for both parties. Correct?
Absolutely.
So Judge, today we have rapid fire questions for you. Those questions need to be answered as quickly as possible. The first thing that comes to your mind. And once the time is up, it's up. Are you ready for the questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we go. Judge, where did you grow up?
Dalton, Georgia. Small town in Northwest Georgia, and it just happens to be the same town that Judge Funk was born and raised in. We grew up about 5 minutes from each other, I think. So we kid around with each other that our local newspaper should do a story on federal judges in Jacksonville, all from the small town of Dalton.
That's fascinating. Did you know each other before you came to Florida?
No, we just happened to stumble on each other in the bankruptcy court, actually.
How fast it really is fascinating how in the whole nation you ended up together here. Very good. And what can you tell us about your journey becoming an attorney and as an attorney?
As an attorney, I'm one of the weird kids that at the age of 5 decided I wanted to be an attorney. I played an attorney in my kindergarten play. And from that day forward, my whole life goal was to be an attorney. And I don't know how I picked it. No attorneys in my family. I was actually the first one in my family to go to college. But my dad always pushed me to be better than him, and he always pushed himself to be better than his dad. And I guess I picked the law as one of those professions that was, in my opinion, one of the pinnacle positions. And I knew I couldn't deal with blood, so I couldn't be a doctor. And so from 5 years old, that was my path.
Very good. So it was something that you were always thinking about. It is a rarity. A lot of times or at least nowadays, you see a lot of jumping in concentration to concentration in college before they finally decide what their career path is.
Yeah, I tried to do everything quickly. I graduated college early, pushed through law school. That was the goal.
No, fascinating. So, Judge, what has been your biggest career or personal achievement prior to being appointed?
Well, my personal achievement would be lucky enough to have my boys and finding my wife. Alabama was great to me, and the best thing it did was to give me her, because she really kind of helped me be where I am today. My best professional achievement was really opening my own practice, and the timing couldn't have worked out better. I went out in 2009, and as you know, in 2009, bankruptcy was booming.
Yes.
So I picked a really good, lucky time. God watched over me, and my best achievement was not just opening my practice, but expanding and keeping it going.
I mean, and it's not easy to open up a practice for those of out there that are new attorneys. There's a lot of expenses involved. There's a lot of cost involved. So by the time that you get your mind over the fact that you are opening a new business, is there anything you can say about that to the new attorneys?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you're gonna go out on your own, do it with the caveat of make sure you know you're not just an attorney at that point. You're a business owner. But the hardest part for me owning my own practice was not the practice of law. I loved it. The hardest part was payroll and making sure taxes are paid and your rent or your mortgage. So it helped me relate to my clients, though. I mean, most of my work was Chapter 11 debtor work, and they would come in with a struggling business, and I could understand their dilemma.
Yes.
You know, you go
Yes.
months and months without a paycheck sometimes. That's just the way it worked. But it was the best thing I've ever done professionally.
Yes, yes, being a business and an attorney, it's two hats that you have to do on a daily basis. It's not as easy as people think. What made you, or when did you think about being a judge for the first time?
I'd say maybe 10 years ago, I started really contemplating it. My wife and I sat down and realized that it's probably a pinnacle goal for a bankruptcy nerd like me. It allowed me more time in the courtroom. I love not to litigate because I love to get along, but I just love the experience of being in the courtroom and being on the forefront of kind of the bankruptcy law. And this was, again, there was no better place to be than here. So about 10 years ago, I really considered it. What helped me a lot was practicing mainly in front of Judge Glenn and Judge Funk. They were outstanding to me as an individual attorney. They always treated me and my clients, which were not always the best clients, I can admit that now, with the most respect. And it was just something I wanted to mirror, and I want to keep that tradition going on.
Very good, very good. Glad to hear that. Judge, what is your favorite bankruptcy code section?
This one's an easy one. 1129B. Again, I was a debtor's attorney, so crammed down to me was my favorite provision as a threat, of course. Not that I would ever need it. But I also had an academic love for 1111B, which most people hate.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, but the best one for me is 1111B when it comes to Chapter 11.
Yeah, so that's my weird. Most people hate it, but I love it. So those are my two favorite code sections. And as a bankruptcy judge, I guess I'm supposed to say 105, but that one always bothers me.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that. 105, for those viewers that do not know, it's pretty much the equity part, the one where, you know, when nothing else works in the code, can the judge be able to apply by justice through through some form of understanding of the code, right?
That's right.
And
in my courtroom, I'll avoid it as much as I can.
Very good. Very good. So what's the last book you read?
I'm actually working my way through the Lincoln Lawyer series. So I just finished The Fifth Witness. So that one I just finished last week.
Ah, so it's so funny. I just downloaded the whole series because I want to binge on it.
It's good. The Lincoln Lawyer series, and I'm not a fan of attorney movies or shows, but the Lincoln Lawyer books at least are really good.
Very good. So I'm gonna be able to talk to you about it pretty soon. How do you like to spend your time off the bench?
Well, it used to be pre-kids. I basically followed the University of Alabama football team around. Post-kids, I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. So I'm the caddy for my 10-year-old because he plays golf. So I follow him around the course all the time. And my 7-year-old is heavy into lacrosse. So I'm normally running them back and forth to their practices and games.
Okay, so you're in that stage of life where your schedule evolves around the kids' schedules.
Fortunately and unfortunately, you are correct.
It's one of the best years, I think. So very good. So that's your hobby then.
Yes.
Very good. What is there a TV show that you think it's really not, I would say it's not quality, and yet you do like to watch it?
I am addicted to Curb Your Enthusiasm. My wife and I watch at least one episode every night before we go to bed just to get kind of mind numb. But Curb Your Enthusiasm is spectacular.
Very good, very good. And what was the last concert you attended?
This is a funny one. So I went with Judge Brown maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago to Billy Strings in St. Augustine. And if you don't know him, which most people don't, he is very heavy bluegrass. So it was a great concert. Jay
Who invited who prompted the concert?
So you probably don't know this about Jay, but he is a humongous, him and his wife go to almost every concert on earth. So he drugged me along down there to St. Augustine, but I like bluegrass, so that's why he invited me.
That's good to know, because if we ask Judge Brown the same question, then we really want to say, give me the last 10 you've attended.
That would be an appropriate question for him.
Very good. When you're in a road trip, you like to listen to?
This is easy for me. Every time I'm on a plane, I'm listening to Bob Marley. It's the only albums I have downloaded on my phone. So if I am traveling, that's who's on my ear pods.
Bob Marley it is. Are you connected in any way to the islands? You just like it?
He relaxes me I can listen to him all day, and he kind of removes me from whatever I'm dealing with.
Yeah, yes, indeed. What book would you recommend everyone read in their lifetime?
I'm going to give you two. One would be more specifically for attorneys. I think every attorney should read A Republic if you can keep it. And that's written by, Justice Gorsuch. So it's a great book on why we have to have separation of the branches of government, and kind of, textualism and things like that, which may give you a hint as to how I read statutes. But on a personal side, a book, I was an English and a political science nerd in undergraduate, and I read Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and it's not The Invisible Man, it's Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and that book was written in the 50s, and it is still this day a perfect read for what we're going through in America. So I would recommend everybody read it. It's a really easy read. It's a really long book, but it's an easy read.
Fantastic. I'll take note of that myself. So what is the one piece of advice that you would give attorneys who may someday appear before your court? You know how it is, you know who your favorite judges were. How do you want us to practice in your court?
Well, one way is to read the statute before you come in. And I know that sounds easy, but I had no idea the amount of bad pleadings and bad arguments that actually go on in court. So I would say be very familiar with the statute you're arguing before you argue it. And if you want some hints with me, tell me why the statute agrees with you, because I'm a very heavy textualist.
Okay,
And be
fantastic.
prepared. Bring binders. Don't bring things paperclip that fall all over the place.
Ah, very good to know. Judge, it's a pleasure. I am very, very happy that you gave us the time. Thank you for making the time. And is there anything else you want to add to our viewers?
No, it just specifically in the business law section, people, the business law section is the best section of the Florida bar. It's the only section I've ever actually paid extra to be in. So if people are watching it that aren't in the business law section, you're silly to not sign up.
Very good. And that's what we want to hear. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. You have a good Friday.
You too. Bye-bye.